But now, the Bruins lost to the Blues, and the vibes are not great.
You're Locked On Bruins, your daily podcast on the Boston Bruins, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, Bruins fans, and welcome back to the Locked On Boston Bruins podcast. I'm your host, Ian McLaren, and this is a daily show where we discuss all things Spoked Beat. Today is Monday, November 18th, and I want to thank you so much for making Locked On Bruins part of your daily routine. Free and available on your favorite podcast app and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And today's episode is brought to you by Indeed. If you're still searching for a great candidate for your company, don't search at all. Just match with Indeed. Before we get started, looking at the storylines, stats, signals from another loss on Saturday to the St. Louis Blues. We'll also preview tonight's game against the Columbus Blue Jackets. A quick reminder, you can find the podcast on social media at Locked NHL Bruins. And you can find me, my hockey thoughts, dad jokes, at Ian C. McLaren. Oh boy, another loss over the weekend. The Bruins just cannot seem to get any momentum going whatsoever. And this time it was a overtime loss to the St. Louis Blues, in which the Bruins were up. They had got 2 goals from Trent Frederick, the St. Louis kid. Things were looking all right, but they allowed St. Louis to tie the game and then also to score the game winner in overtime. And afterwards, people were calling for Jim Montgomery's job, for changes to happen. Something needs to jumpstart this team. Something needs to happen in order for them to get on the same page, whether they're just feeling discombobulated from the Jeremy Swayman contract situation that affected training camp. The Elias Lindholm, who we'll touch on here in a moment, was injured through training camp. They have a lot of new faces in the lineup, some that perhaps aren't quite NHL level. We did have a Georgie Murkulov sighting over the weekend, and he made an immediate impact, getting the primary assist on Trent Frederick's first goal of the day, his second of the season. I thought he played very well on that third line, and the Bruins did send Riley Tufte back to Providence yesterday, signaling that Murk could be around for at least some time now, even with Tyler Johnson returning to the team after he was away, tending to a family matter. We'll see what the lineup looks like for tonight's game, but Murk played great, and I believe he deserves, an extended run here as the team's best player in the AHL as of late. So put him in a prime position to succeed, unlike last season where he was playing very minimal minutes, checking role. Put him with some scores. You see that he was able to jumpstart Trent Frederick there, who now has 3 goals on the season, 2 on Saturday. And they really do need to get Freddie going here in terms of adding some secondary and third level scoring to the lineup. Unfortunately, the Bruins were not able to hold on, and that's just kind of been the story of the season so far. They take one step forward and then just cannot break through. Or, we saw that comeback win over St. Louis last week. They followed that up with a stinker in Dallas. They get a lead over St. Louis in this one. Couldn't close the deal. And while they did get 1 point, it would have been a lot better, obviously, to get the 2 points heading into a week where there are a bunch of points on the table. And we'll, again, preview the Columbus game tonight, look ahead at the week ahead. Trent Frederick, after the game, said, "We're trying to be positive. Guys are trying to have fun at the rink, and the staff does do a good job of that," he said. So that's a credit to Jim Montgomery that he's trying to keep things light, but also there's obviously some frustration. the team's not having the year that was predicted or started the way they thought they would or have done in the past. But he believes they can turn it around at any second, and it's not going to take much, he says. They're not that far away. Frederic had gone 17 games without a goal. He hadn't scored since the season opener against the Florida Panthers. Jim Montgomery said they didn't have a lot of juice in the tank. I don't know why we didn't, he said. Another in a long string of answerless or inability to answer these questions from Jim Montgomery. He can't answer where the offense is. He doesn't know where their legs are. They had legs in the first, he said, but it kind of fell off after that. And you saw the shot totals declining. Mark Kaselic left the game early in the second period because of a lower body injury. So if he's not able to go tonight, Tufte was sent back. So we probably get both of Johnson and Murk in the lineup here in some fashion. Now, one of the big storylines yesterday was Elias Lindholm admitting that he just has not been good enough so far for the Bruins after signing a 7-year, $54.25 million contract last July to be Boston's number one center. He said he wouldn't put the blame on something else other than himself. He has to be better. To his point, he has 2 goals through 19 games, 16 straight without a goal. Didn't even have a shot against the Blues. And his point total overall is not great either. Just 9 points through 19 games, 4 straight without a point at all. And it's not his first point drought of the season. He had a 7-game drought in late October. He says he's got to be more involved. He's not doing much out there by his own admission, skating up and down the ice. I got to be more involved and want the puck more. Now, Bruins legend Patrice Bergeron was asked about the team over the weekend by the Hockey News, and he said he felt like they have a lot of new guys, a lot of guys who are coming from different teams. Sometimes it takes a little longer to adjust. He would know, he's had that experience. Takes time to adjust, to come together as a team. They've shown some great things through some stretches. They have a good team that I really believe in with a lot of experience with guys I played with, Bergeron said, and know what they're all about. I believe in them, said Patrice Bergeron. So if he can believe in them, why can't we? But there's a lot of troubling signs for this team, beginning with the play of both their prime free agents, Nikita Zadorov, underwhelming on the blue line. Certainly Elias Lindholm, underwhelming as a top line center for this team. Yes, it takes some time to adjust. It takes some time to get to know not only players' tendencies on the ice, but also where you fit in the locker room. Lindholm said, if I find my game and are a better player for the Bruins, it's always about making his teammates better and his line mates better. And it's hard for them when you're a center that's supposed to drive a line and not playing good enough. As long as I'm not getting better, he said, it's going to be hard for them. So he's taking some personal responsibility there, and hopefully he can step up as early as tonight's game against the Columbus Blue Jackets. So the big stories here: Lindholm, by his own admission, not playing well for the Bruins. Patrice Bergeron believes in this team. Trent Frederic got going thanks to Georgie Murkulov's impact offensively. And we'll take a look at some more stats and signals to take away from the St. Louis game here as the podcast continues. PrizePicks is the best place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, PrizePicks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 100 times your cash. You can run your game all season long on PrizePicks. PrizePicks invented the flex play, which means you can still cash out if your lineup isn't perfect, and you can double your money even if one of your picks doesn't hit. Sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It is guaranteed. They also have some weekly promotions that can lead to big payouts like Taco Tuesday. Each Tuesday, Prize Picks discount select player projections up to 25% to provide even more value for your lineups. Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONNHL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Just download the Prize Picks app, use code LOCKEDONNHL, and get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. At Prize Picks, you can run your game. Stats and signals from this game against the St. Louis Blues. Well, the Bruins were outplayed on home ice in pretty lopsided fashion, to be honest. At 5-on-5, 50 minutes and 54 seconds of this game were played 5-on-5, and the St. Louis Blues had 61.29% of the shot attempts. They had 63.6% of all shots on goal, outshooting the Bruins 28-16 at 5-on-5. Scoring chances were 27-19 in favor of the Blues. They had 12 high danger chances compared to only 8 for the Bruins, and expected goals were in St. Louis's favor as a result. In all situations, the shots were 31-18. Shot attempts 63-42. The Bruins just once again demonstrating it's not even a reluctance at this point to get the puck on net. It's just an inability. And this points to kind of coaching in some respects. If you're regularly unable to get any offense going, and don't forget, when Jim Montgomery came in here, the idea was he was trying to generate more offense from the blue line. Well, the Bruins this season are just completely inept offensively. And yes, there's a delicate balance between coaching, structure, and the tools that you have at your disposal. But right now, the Bruins rank 26th in the NHL, tied with the St. Louis Blues and the Detroit Red Wings for goals per game, 2.47, not even 2.5 goals per game. Total goals scored, they have 47, which again is among the lowest in the NHL. So not great. They are allowing, let's see here, 29.5 shots per game. They're averaging 26.9 shots per game, which is 25th in the NHL. That's just not going to get it done. They need to get more pucks on net, and if the current structure that they're working with isn't amenable to that, then they have to mix things up in order to generate more offense, quite simply. It's just insane how often they are outshot. It shouldn't be happening, especially on home ice. The shot leaders among Bruins players, of course, David Pastrnak leads the way with 82 shots. The next highest guy is Brad Marchand with 56, then Pavel Zacha with 41. A bunch of guys, just not getting the puck on net. And when you have a volatile goaltender in Jordan Binnington, who can be easily taken off his game, you have to fire the puck on net as often as possible. It's just an abject failure to get creative offensively and generate sustained pressure. The Bruins ranked 24th in the NHL, 5-on-5 in shot attempt differential. When it comes to shot differential, 5-on-5, they rank 28th. It's just not going to get it done. Now, what can we take away from that game? Well, this is a trend. The Bruins need to get more shots on goal, but it does appear as though Joonas Korpisalo is going to get an opportunity to make back-to-back starts for the first time as a Boston Bruin. He was in the starter's net for practice yesterday, and he'll get a chance to play against his former team, the Columbus Blue Jackets. And honestly, it's deserved at this point. He's played better than Jeremy Swayman. He's 3-2-1, a winning record, 274 goals against average, a 901 save percentage, which isn't amazing, but it's above average at the moment. I believe the average save percentage in the NHL is around 898, which is where his old tandem partner Elvis Merzlikins is at the moment. Swayman, 5-6-2, 335 goals against average, an 888 save percentage. He just does not look like himself at the moment. And whether it's not having been at training camp, it's the pressure of the big time contract, it's perhaps who knows if there's some residual feelings in the locker room of resentment for the fact that he pushed so hard for one of the bigger contracts on the team. And that forced the Bruins to trade Linus Ullmark. Who knows? But Korpisalo has played better than both Swayman and Ullmark, so he deserves a shot here coming up. Again, something we can take away from that game that was a positive. Murkulov coming in, playing very well, making an impact for this team, coming in and getting a chance to succeed, first of all, like he wasn't necessarily given last season. And he should be, getting a look here. He's been more effective than Max Jones, Riley Tufte in that position. So the Bruins very well should be, we talk about giving the kids a look. They're sticking with older veteran guys. No, they're giving Murk a shot here, and as they should, because he was really heating up at the AHL level and should be getting an extended run here with the Boston Bruins, especially with their offense struggling the way that it is. So those are the storylines, stats, and signals that were taken away from the game here against the St. Louis Blues. I guess we should do a quick standings check here as well as one of those key stats. The Bruins, they are currently fourth in the Atlantic by way of points, tied with the Tampa Bay Lightning at 19, but they've played 3 more games than Tampa. If you go by point percentage, the Bruins remain in fourth. They're 8-8-3, tied with the Ottawa Senators, who are 8-8-1. So both 500 teams, but Ottawa does have 2 games in hand, and they have a +2 goal differential, whereas the Bruins -17, which is almost as bad as the Montreal Canadiens, who are in dead last in the Atlantic. In fact, the Bruins have the 3rd worst goal differential in the Eastern Conference at the moment, which is not great at all. Hopefully, they can begin to turn things around tonight against the Columbus Blue Jackets, and it's a game we'll preview here as the podcast continues. If you're looking to add to your work team, there's no better place to turn than Indeed. We are driven by the search for better, and when it comes to hiring, the best way to search isn't to search at all. It's to match, and you can do that with Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and it has a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. They don't just help you hire faster either. 93% of employers agree Indeed delivers the highest quality matches compared to other job sites, according to a recent Indeed survey. I'm in between full-time jobs at the moment. I'm on Indeed every day, and just a fantastic platform. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get their jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/lockedon. Just go to Indeed.com/lockedon. Support Locked On Bruins by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. That's Indeed.com/lockedon. Terms and conditions do apply, but if you need to hire, you need Indeed. Bruins, Blue Jackets tonight at TD Garden, where it will be Military Appreciation Night, according to a release from the Bruins here this morning. And this is a game the Bruins need to win. It's not necessarily an inferior opponent based on the way these teams have been playing, but they are. They're 6-9-2. Columbus is through their opening season so far. They've only won one game over their past 8. That was a win over the Pittsburgh Penguins, who are even worse this season. Quite simply, this is a game on home ice that the Bruins need to have. And if we're talking about potential coaching changes, you look at what this week looks like for the Bruins. If they're not successful this week, then there could really be some changes coming. Like, this is no joke. They play tonight against Columbus. They host Utah on Thursday, and then they will travel to Detroit. These are all 3 teams that are incredibly beatable before you play Vancouver at home on next Tuesday. You have to take care of business here, get some momentum going. Yes, they've picked up points in 4 of their past 5 games, but 2 of those were overtime losses. One against the Blues, the other last Saturday against the Senators. They only have 1 regulation win over their past 6 games, and that needs to turn around here beginning tonight. It's the first of 3 meetings between these 2 teams. They are led in scoring. Columbus is by Zach Aston Reese over their past 5 games. He's got 5 goals from a 4th line vantage point. David Pastrnak has 2 goals for the Bruins over the past 5 games, 6 points, 4 assists. Better than a point per game average lately. He needs to keep that going to get back to some of the league's elite that we have expected. The Bruins right now are rocking the 32nd ranked power play in the NHL, the 26th ranked penalty kill. The Blue Jackets don't have the best power play. They rank 23rd. So hopefully the Bruins can raise their penalty killing numbers tonight, or hey, even better, stay out of the box. Penalty kill for the Blue Jackets ranks 14th. They have 3.12 goals per game, which is 16th in terms of offensive proficiency. The Bruins, as I mentioned, 26th at 2.47. The Blue Jackets defense, though, not great. 3.59 goals allowed per game. That's 29th. The Bruins are 24th at 3.37. The Blue Jackets did just add Dante Fabro by way of waivers from the Nashville Predators, and he's been paired with Zach Werenski lately on the top pairing. He's been adding some points, so he could make a bit of a difference here tonight. That's a guy to watch out for. They're led in scoring by Kirill Marchenko. They have Sean Monahan, who's playing pretty well so far in his first year with the Blue Jackets. Our old friend James Van Riemsdyk is there. Only 12 games played, 2 goals, 2 assists, and he's been a healthy scratch recently, but he may get in there tonight against his old team. Again, this is a game the Bruins just, quite frankly, have to win. Yeah, I mean, you don't want to have must-win games as early as November 18th, but it's on home ice. They are coming off a game in which they should have beaten the St. Louis Blues, a team that is not as, on paper, as good as them. And it's time to string along some wins here. They've been hovering around 500 for weeks. They've been picking up points here and there, but they need to show that they can separate themselves from these middle of the pack teams in the Atlantic and in the Metro. They're battling with the Flyers, who are up to 500 now after winning 3 in a row. The Islanders are up to 500. The Senators are at 500. The Sabres at 472. They're creeping around 8-9-1. The Bruins, again, are tied with Tampa, but Tampa's got 3 games in hand. The Maple Leafs, the Panthers really pulling away here in the Atlantic. So the Bruins need to string some wins together here in order to remain in the wild card hunt, quite frankly. If they lose games this week against 3 very beatable opponents, all bets are off in terms of whether or not they make a move coaching wise. And, once you get to Thanksgiving, which is only 10 days away, and you're not in a playoff spot, it's very difficult to make up that ground. And the Bruins cannot afford to drop too many points here this week. We're talking like we need 5 of 6 points is what the Bruins need, I think, to avoid some reactionary decisions coming maybe this time next week. If they lose tonight to Columbus, the pressure's even ramped up for the game against Utah, who's started off hot, kind of cooled down a bit, and then a big game against Detroit on Saturday, a team that is dead heat with you for a playoff spot and looking to move up into the playoffs after years of rebuilding mediocrity. The Bruins need to win these 2 games on home ice, quite frankly. Anyways, that is it for today's episode of Locked On Boston Bruins, my friends. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen. Thank you for checking out the bonus episode over the weekend with Haley Simon of Locked On Blues. Hopefully doing some more crossovers coming up and bringing you all the latest on the Locked On Boston Bruins. Do check out Locked On Fantasy Hockey podcast next, where Steele and Flip will give you all the tips you need to win your week. And it's all part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your favorite team every single day. Please do take care of yourselves, take care of each other, friends, and we'll talk to you again tomorrow here on Locked On Boston Bruins.